Welcome back to another episode of the Afterburners podcast. I am your host, Mr. Sam Niedermeyer. With me, as always, my hetero life mate, Mr. Bobby Cock.
Wow.
and joining us from Canada, and also celebrating, I believe, your first anniversary recently, correct, Mike? Mr. Mike Jarvis. Mike, how are you?
I'm well, thanks, guys. How's things in New York?
Better, or not better, worse here than it is there because Sam can't even pronounce my last name right.
No. I meant to say
pronounce it right.
Nice So here's what happened. Okay, we had a nice conversation before the show started about what Bobby used to be called in middle school, and I said I'm sure there was no cock jokes whatsoever.
Yeah. Let's bring back all of those. So if you have kids listening, which I don't know why the fuck you would do that because we curse literally
Let's
all the
fucking
time.
make it official. Don't put the fucking kids on.
Yeah, but if your kids here, you might have seen that movie where they do earmuffs. That's what you're going to do right now. So some nicknames for me in middle school: Booby Cooch, Bobby Koch, Bobby Cooch, Bobby Cock, Mr. Cocky, Kooky Cooch, Kooky Koch, Kooky. I heard it all. So
wow, that's a lot of
I forgot Booby Crotch. Sorry, that was another popular one. So there you go. Those are all the names you could call me. And now I'm sure there will be many people on Twitter calling me them again. I don't feel bad about it. It's fine. Go for it.
That's like a George Carlin skit right there. Mike, how'd your fantasy teams do this weekend?
Pretty well. I picked up the win over Jack in the Dynasty League, which I sweated my nuts off last night. Fucking Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas almost gave me a heart attack. In our best ball league that I'm in, I fucking won. I'm trying to lose because my team sucks, and I want that draft positioning. But somehow I pulled out a win over a friend of the podcast in Bill. And yeah, my redraft leagues, I won a couple of them this week and lost one, which kind of hurt. But thanks to Tyrod Taylor. But I'll talk about Tyrod later on in the show. How about you guys? How'd your teams do?
I mean, you know my team. I mean, I'll be 40 points. Let's face it, I'm playing for 2019, but I got something in the works. Don't you worry about that. But my other team is coming down to Monday night. What we need on tonight, actually we're recording this during the Monday night game. We need Devin. What's his name? Devin Funchess.
Yep.
No more than 13 points.
Oh, I need the complete opposite. I need him to have like 100 points. So.
Well, you're not going to get that. Okay, so you might as well cheer for me, your good friend, and.
No, I'm cheering for the impossible. In one of my leagues, I had Devonta Freeman, and because of him, I'm facing another friend of mine, and he has Cam Newton, Christian McCaffrey, and Graham Gano versus my Devontae Parker and Funchess. So I'm hoping for a miracle here, but I was already down by like 0.5, so I'm probably losing.
Yeah, you're that.
He's definitely going to lose that, guys. Let's get started. We're already talking football. Let's get started with the show. We got a great show for everyone today. We're going to go over the Minnesota quarterback situation. A lot of fun stuff to talk about there. In fact, an interesting poll that we ran on Monday that we're going to talk about, and I think is, listen, if you listen to us, thank you so much, but you're kind of dumb compared to what we know. Jared Goff has been crushing it. You also have the new look Saints. Is Drew Brees actually going to be hurting your fantasy team? And then we're going to play a fun game of buy low, sell high with the trade deadline coming around the corner. Before we get started with all of that, Mike, let us know where we can find you on Twitter. Bobby, you follow him up. We're going to get right into it after that.
Yeah, for the millions and millions of fans that we have, you guys can find me on Twitter at Mike Jarvis, all in one word.
I'd just like to point out that Sam called all of you dumb and said we know more than you do, but he said we posted this poll on Monday night, aka he could have just said this poll we posted earlier tonight. You can find me at Rekt Fantasy. That's REKED Fantasy. I'm not trying to be hardcore. REK is just my initials for those that don't know. And you can find my work on dynastyleaguefootball.com.
Yeah, and I'm going to get wrecked on this Shiner box here.
Shinerbuck, the new unofficial sponsor of the Afterburners pod. Please sponsor us. We love your beer. I think you're from Texas. Yep, Texas.
Just give us a retweet. That's all we want. We just want to retweet.
We don't even know. We want free cases of Shinerbuck.
Avi.
Send me some Shiner box. We don't have that up here in Canada.
Oh, wow.
That's, that's rough for you.
For Bobby's wedding, when you're going to crash, we'll go ahead and give you a few cases there. So, guys, you can find me at The Needy One Also, I got some big news later on today about something that's going to be unleashed upon the rest of the world tomorrow. I'm really excited to talk about. But before we get to all that, let's go Minnesota. Things are looking crazy in Minnesota right now, Mike. I don't know if anyone's noticed. They're 7-2. Case Keenum lighting it up. He's got a 5-2 record. He's thrown went for 21 for 29, 300 yards, 4 touchdowns against the lowly Redskins. He's thrown for nearly 65% completion rate, almost 2,000 yards, 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Bro is crushing it, but look who we got around the corner. Teddy BridgeWater, he's healthy. Coach Mike Zimmer still not sure who's going to start. Well, at least he's telling the media he's not sure. Mike, what are we doing here? What's going on in Minnesota? Do we start Keenum? Do we start Teddy BridgeWater? If we had to pick one, who are we picking?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Myself, I think you got to give it to Teddy, just for the fact that Teddy didn't do anything to lose the job other than get hurt. I mean, yeah, he hasn't thrown a pass in almost 2 years, but when he did, he was pretty efficient, and he was a pretty good runner as well. Averaged 4.4 yards per rush back in 2015 as last year, and, didn't really do anything, like I said, to lose the job. What did he do? He went 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He went 11-5 back in 2015. Not a lot of touchdowns, 14-9, but Teddy BridgeWater is right now the future of the Vikings quarterbacks. He's 25 years old. Yeah, Keenum's on a roll right now. Keenum's what, 28, 29, fellas, something like that?
Yeah, I think 29.
29.
So, I mean, this is a guy who's been a journeyman for the last couple of years, and he was on a bit of a hot streak right now, but don't you want to see where your young 25-year-old quarterback, what he can do for you with all your shiny new weapons and Diggs and Thielen?
Bobby, he's completed nearly 65% of his passes. Tell me you're going to choose Case Keenum.
Well, first of all, for those of you who can't see Mike's face and are wondering why I just slow clapped, we all discussed the fact that we believe in Case Keenum over Teddy, and Mike managed to just say all of that with a straight face, even though you could tell that he really didn't believe in any of it. So, bravo.
I put my whole heart behind that.
In terms of Case Keenum, so at least for this year, I would stick with starting Keenum. There's an old adage that you don't change what's getting you wins, and the Vikings are winning right now, and they're doing pretty well. And I looked up some of these stats earlier because that's my job. You might have seen earlier on Twitter, I was talking with friends of the pod, Kyle and Zach. They host the Dynasty Dummies, which is another podcast I listen to. And I said, my job is being the stat nerd. So here's some stat nerd stats. On PFF, if you look it up, you can sort who
You're
has
like Tony Reali, the stat guy from PTI.
Yeah, that's me.
Stat boy.
Yeah. Anyway, going back to the PFF, so you can look up who leads in deep pass attempts, and I looked this up because people call Case Keenum a game manager, but he's actually, of people who have attempted 100 or more passes, he's 10th in deep pass attempts, 11th in deep pass yards. So he's kind of middle of the pack or slightly above middle of the pack in terms of deep passing. He has a very low INT percentage. I think he's 15th. His adjusted net yards, he was 8th overall. And again, they're winning. Now, something that Mike didn't mention in his rant against Keenum was Keenum's never attempted more than 196 passes in his entire career. And he's currently at 170 something. So he's getting to a workload that's uncharted territory for him. I'm not saying it's like baseball where it's like, oh, you've never pitched this many innings before. But I'd have to think there might be some wear and tear on his body that's happening from throwing more than he's ever thrown in his professional career.
Well, his jersey looks pretty clean after the end of the game for the last 4 or 5 weeks. So maybe that has a little to do with it. Mike, Dynasty quarterback, I know you say you want to take Teddy BridgeWater the rest of the season, but Dynasty quarterback, I mean, it's got to be BridgeWater, right?
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, like I said, Keenum is 29. He's a journeyman. There's a reason why teams have basically just said, fuck you and given up on you. I don't think that the Vikings would have activated Teddy and even dressed him if they didn't think that he was going to be their guy going forward. Teddy offers more, like you said, like Bobby said, rather. He's never attempted more than 190 whatever passes. My man Teddy, last year he played, 2015, He attempted 447, completed 292. That's good for a 65% completion. That's not too bad at all. He averaged 7.23 yards per completion. Fuck, I'll take that all day.
Yeah, Teddy is the future. And that would be the one thing. If the Vikings start losing some games, I could easily see them switching over to Teddy to get him some game experience before next season. But as long as they're winning this year, I think Case Keenum's their starter. And this will be Case Keenum's career season. He'll never have a season again like this.
No. Also, the one thing that we didn't touch on is, where does Sam Bradford fall into next year?
He's never playing again.
Ever. You heard it here first, folks. Sam Bradford is never playing in the NFL again.
Well, it could be great. Maybe the Houston Texans will pick him up if he hasn't played in the next 3 or 4 years. They're probably going to find a quarterback that hasn't played in about 3 or 4 years. I like those guys. Real quick, go ahead, Bobby. You want to finish up the sentiment?
Oh, it's just Bradford has such a bad knee injury and it's kind of interesting that Bradford went out with knee injuries when obviously Teddy just came back from that terrible knee injury. And I just wanted to say really quick that regardless of what happens from Teddy from here on out, the fact that he's even on the football field again is incredibly impressive. And he was in tears right before the Vikings game. So everyone's very happy for him that he was able to come back from that non-contact injury. But I don't think the same can be said for Bradford. I mean, I'm pulling for Andrew Luck, who a bunch of people are saying his career might be over. But from what I've been reading and people I trust who are actually sports doctors, I highly doubt that Sam Bradford plays again. But that's just me.
You can go on to the Afterburners podcast. Check out the poll we have going on. Excuse me, it's at Afterburners Pod.
And don't be a fucking moron and vote Teddy.
Hey, this is what I do. I screw shit up, all right? And I'm screwing it up again. At Afterburners Pod, Case Keenum versus Teddy BridgeWater. I realized I said at the beginning of the game, at the beginning of the episode, that y'all were jabronis. We knew more than you, but apparently I don't even know my own podcast handle on Twitter. Either way, Teddy BridgeWater, 70% to Case Keenum's 30 right now. Go on there and vote, folks. We need some more. Speaking of quarterbacks that were destroyed by Jeff Fisher in Case Keenum, we have another one in L.A., Jared Goff, who is absolutely lighting it up for the Rams. Bobby, you and I were both very low on Jared Goff beginning of the year.
That's not true.
Bobby, Jared Goff had a terrible, terrible year last year, and I was very low on him at the beginning of the year. What's going on with him? Where's his ranking? He is just lighting up the scoreboard right now. I mean, 2,300 yards, 16 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Save some money on this, bro.
So Sam said that I was very low on Goff coming into the season.
It was like episode 2. You were so low on him.
But season, I wrote an article called Breaking Down the Targets, Los Angeles Rams, and I examined the situation more closely.
You can find that at Blogspot.
Lopsidedtrades.blogspot.com. I looked it up and was interested to see how Sean McVay would do. And I'm not saying I saw this coming at all. I didn't, but I thought, okay, maybe he'll make the offense a bit better. And I started to kind of come around on Goff. I wasn't high on him, but I wasn't low. I was kind of curious. And also some stats that I pulled for a chart that you can see in the article showed that Matthew Stafford, Eli Manning, and I can't recall who the other one was off the top of my head, but is another usable fantasy quarterback, had even worse rookie seasons than Jared Goff did. So I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt based on the fact that those guys were even worse. And now it's, I think with the advent of Twitter, we're all now quicker to judge than we would have been when Eli Manning was a rookie, for example, because we probably would have just wrote him off and then he would have had some like top 12 or something like that fantasy quarterback situations, and we would have missed out on those. But I think Goff's for real. This offense is high-powered. It's kind of reminding me somewhat of The Greatest Show on Turf. I had to make the reference because it's the Rams.
Wrong city.
I don't care. I'm going for it. It's interestingly, I think the major thing here is that Gurley is there. And I say that because that means that the defense can't just key up on their receivers. They always have to worry about the threat of Gurley running down the middle or running to the outside. So that means that Goff can have a bunch of open passing lanes, and he's just hitting his guys. That's all he has to do. Although I don't know how I don't understand. How is Sammy Watkins not a key part of this offense?
It's because Sammy Watkins is somebody who people hate.
Mike, Bobby brings a good point. I mean, Jared Goff, regardless of whether he had a shitty year last year or not, he's got some weapons. Todd Gurley, I think Tavon Austin's still there. Robert Woods looked really good yesterday.
Tavon Austin sucks.
Sammy Watkins, big play threat. Cooper Kupp, we didn't even say him. He's a rookie whose grandmother is following Bobby or something. I don't know, on Twitter. Break it down right now. Is Jared Goff a QB1?
Ask me again in, 4 weeks.
4 weeks, the season's going to be over, bro.
That's what
it's on you. That's only week 15. So Jared Goff has had a very impressive year so far. There's no way around that. The problem being is, aside from 2 games, week 5 and 6 versus Seattle and the Jags, Jared Goff hasn't played anybody that's very good defending the pass. He's faced the Colts, the Skins, the Niners, the Cowboys, then the Seahawks and Jags, then the Cardinals, Giants, and Texans. So against the Jags and the Seahawks, who are ranked 3rd and 7th against the pass, fantasy-wise, Goff has scored less than 10 points in each of those games. Now, against everybody else, he has feasted. His best game was against the Giants, where he got almost 29 points. But the Giants also have the 29th ranked pass D. So that's why.
And defense was optional that day for them, apparently.
Yeah. So that's why I said ask me in 4 weeks. Because the next 4 weeks, the Rams play at Minnesota, at home against the Saints, at the Cardinals, and then against the Eagles as well.
That's great stuff, Mike. Actually, I didn't even think about the whole schedule thing.
And then they play at the Seahawks in week 15. So, I mean, let's put it this way. You asked if Goff is a quarterback 1. Would you feel comfortable starting Goff in the semifinals of the playoffs at Seattle?
No.
In mid-December? No. And so,
it depends who my other quarterbacks were.
Right. Okay. You've got Breeze, Goff, and Matt Ryan.
Is it a 2-quarterback league?
Yes.
Who's Matt Ryan facing?
Week 15. Let's just see who Matt Ryan's facing. Week 15. Give me a second here to pull it up. Matt Ryan's fate is at the Bucks.
Probably Matt Ryan.
Yeah, I probably have to take Matt Ryan against the Bucks then.
So if we're not calling him a QB1, Mike, where do you place right now Goff on the grand scheme of things ranking right now?
I'd place Goff.
Let's do one season redraft league and then give me the dynasty.
Okay, dynasty. I'm putting Goff maybe like 12 to 15th, somewhere in there.
Oh.
And then, did I say that was dynasty or redraft?
You said that's dynasty, I believe.
That seems a little low for dynasty.
For dynasty.
In dynasty, I'd say probably 10 to 12. And then in redraft, I'd slide it down a little, 12 to 15.
Bobby, what's your rankings on Goff?
I'm actually pulling up my rankings right now.
Oh, he's going to dynastyleaguefootball.com/rankings. Bobby actually has his own website, apparently, that he gets to pull up all at all times, but we don't have access to.
So I have him ranked. Let's see. Where is it? I have him ranked lower than Patrick Mahomes, I can tell you, or at least I did.
Wow.
So lower than Mitchell Trubisky, actually. I might have to change this a little bit.
How high are you right now, or when you wrote that?
Not at all. Not at all. But I might have to change that. I'd say 12 to 15 sounds a little high to me.
Yeah, I think it might be Ashley now that I think about it. I might say...
I think you said 10 earlier, and that sounds ridiculously high because the top tier is getting so crowded when you think about it. You still have Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Andrew Luck, depending on how you feel about him. Deshaun Watson is somewhere up there. Dak Prescott, Carson Wentz. Who else have I not mentioned? Cam Newton, Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston.
I might like Goff more than Mariota.
All right. Well, you feel
I would like Goff more than Winston.
I think at this point I'm with you, Mike. I think I do too.
those takes are too hot for me. But I'd say he's like a 17 to 18 range, maybe 15 to 18 range.
Yeah, the more I get thinking about it, I think I feel comfortable with Goff around 15 for Dynasty.
So we are in agreement. Goff mid-teens right now in terms of Dynasty Fantasy Football QB ranking. One guy that's been a QB1 for a long, long time, Drew Brees. And though the Saints are 7-2, looking very, very good, do we have cause for concern to think that Drew Brees might not be a QB1 rest of the season, Mike?
Absolutely, we do.
And that's coming from a Saints fan.
Yeah, with that Saints hat. I see it.
Wearing my Saints hat. As the biggest Saints fan probably in Canada.
Biggest only.
It's
There's one other guy in Toronto. We don't talk about him, though.
Fair enough. It pains me to think that Drew Brees isn't a quarterback one anymore. But, as Bobby said, 10 minutes ago or so, why change what's working? The Saints, for years, have been all about Drew Brees hucking the ball 45 times a game and trying to outscore opponents, 45-40. Now they're sitting there, they're letting Ingram and Kamara just dominate the ground and the defense do the work. And Brees is passing for, 225 to 250 and 1 or 2 touchdowns a game. And they're winning games 28-13. So it appears that the days of Brees being a legit quarterback one are maybe over. And it pains me to say, but if it brings them a Lombardi trophy here in, 2.5 months, I'm all for it.
Let it be known that before the season began, I had a team that's contending, and Mike talked me into trading for Drew Brees, and that has not worked out very well for me. In fact, I had to trade for Alex Smith because I feel so insecure about Brees that I wanted a backup option, and now Smith might be my starting quarterback. But just to add some stats to my agreeing with Mike, so 4 of 10 weeks, Drew Brees has had 1 passing touchdown or less. And he also had, if not for rushing touchdowns in 2 weeks, he would have had less than 10 fantasy points. And in the upcoming schedule, he faces a bunch of teams that are positive for the game script to be running heavy, meaning it's not going to change from Ingram and Kamara because those teams should just be run all over again. So really, I am concerned about Brees, at least for this year, and probably in the future if this running thing continues to work. It's almost like Sean Payton has flipped completely where he went, oh, Mark Ingram, you're continually in my doghouse and I hate you. And now he's gone, oh, Mark Ingram, you're my best buddy, and Drew Brees, fuck you. Get the fuck out of here. You're in the doghouse now. Bark for me, Drew Brees. Bark.
The only thing I'll say about that is Ingram was still in Peyton's doghouse after he fumbled twice in the fourth quarter there 2 weeks ago. Last week it was all the Kamara show. So don't think that Ingram's that far out of Sean's doghouse. And as far as the game script going, Brees in the fantasy playoffs weeks 14, 15, 16 gets the Falcons twice at Atlanta, and then in week 16 he gets them in New Orleans. Those games are always a shootout. And the plus thing for Brees, is, he did what he needed to do yesterday on a cold weather game in Buffalo. But from weeks 12 to 16, he's either in warm weather or in a dome. At the Rams, at home against the Panthers, at the Falcons, home against the Jets, home against the Falcons. I've said it for years that you never bet against Brees in the dome. And I'm still sticking with that. Will you see the 400, 450-yard 3 TD game? Probably not. But I think in those games in the dome in the fantasy playoffs, 302 is more than plausible.
I have one response to that. Come gather round, people. I can't do the rest of the song. I'm not going to start singing. But basically, the song, for those of you who aren't familiar, is Bob Dylan. The times are a-changing. The times are a-changing for Drew Brees. It's all about the run game in New Orleans. They actually have a defense now that can play defense, so he doesn't have to continually play to make up for their lack of defense.
Right.
Don't think he's the elite option that we used to think he was.
Three stats I'm going to blow your guys' mind with that you need to put on your radar to make sure that you understand that Drew Brees is not the same quarterback that he was. 1, completion percentage, highest it's ever been in his life, almost 72%. 2, touchdown percentage, a full percentage point down from his career average, and the lowest since 2007. It's a 4.3%. And 3, his yards per game is the lowest since 2005. So you don't think that running game is affecting his output? It is. But right now we got a really nice nice output game here. We're gonna do buy low, sell high. We've been wanting to do this for a while. Now we're gonna do it, guys. I'm gonna give you one position, such as quarterback, wide receiver, tight end. You're gonna give me one candidate that you want to buy low on. You're gonna give me one candidate you want to sell high on. It's gonna be for the rest of the season. Who wants to go first?
Well, it doesn't matter.
Okay, Mike, you spoke up, so that's going to be you. So give us your quarterback that you want to buy low and sell high right on the trade deadline.
And so it's okay. So my buy low is actually going to be Breeze. For everything that we just said, I think a lot of owners.
Weeks 12 through 16, right?
What's that?
Weeks 12 through 16. That's why you're buying low.
I'm buying. I already own them, so I don't have to buy him in our league. But no, it's for all the reasons that we just stated. A lot of owners are starting to maybe not panic a little bit, but think, "Oh shit, is this the time that I should cash out on Drew?" So I mean, at the start of the season, he was probably going to cost you a first plus. There's no probably. He definitely would have cost you a first plus. For right now,
Mike.
What's that?
What format?
Any format.
No, one quarterback you wouldn't cost a first plus.
Well, one quarterback leagues are stupid, so I would acknowledge them.
Fair enough. Yeah,
we got to burn.
Yeah, just so you know, on this podcast, if you're listening, I play in a one quarterback league, but we do not like one quarterback leagues. It's either 2 QB, super flex, or bust.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, one quarterback leagues aren't a thing as far as I'm concerned. Anyways, at the start of the year, he would have cost a first plus. Now, I think you could probably get him for a late first or maybe even an early second and a nice pick. If I didn't own Drew Brees, I would be all over that shit right now.
Bobby, buy low.
Derek Carr. So he has a great – it's interesting that we both looked at the future schedules for these guys. He has a great playoff schedule. I didn't write down the exact teams he's facing, but they were all net positive for quarterbacks. And he's had kind of a down season, and the offense as a whole has had a down season. And I've heard some, talk at least on Twitter about the coaching changes and things of that nature. And I do buy into that because we saw, as we talked about earlier, the difference between Jeff Fisher and McVay is pretty big. So that can happen with other coaches as well. But I think Carr will bounce back to at least being usable, the low-end QB1 that he was last season, possibly. A lot of that also kind of depends on Amari Cooper. And I know people are probably groaning that I'm talking about Amari Cooper. I still believe in Amari Cooper. I shouldn't believe in Amari Cooper. Talented receiver. And he may not bounce back this year. I think he will bounce back long term. But for my Derek Carr buy low to actually work, Amari Cooper does need to bounce back this year.
My buy low is going to be Ben Roethlisberger. I know he's old. He looks terrible, but you know what? They have 5 of the last 7 games are at home. A lot of them in prime time too. Sunday nights, Thursday, Monday nights. They're playing the Browns again, the Ravens again, the Bengals again. I understand the Bengals have kind of a good team, whatever. I don't believe it. They're terrible.
You know Dalton's going to do what he does and throw picks.
All these weapons, I'm buying low on Ben Roethlisberger, Mike.
Surprise, surprise. The Saints fan picks Breeze and the Steelers fan picks Big Ben.
Let's sell.
Meanwhile, the Giants fan didn't pick either.
Oh,
No.
that's because you would absolutely be a homer, and we would be like, yeah, okay, that's homerism right there. Whereas Mike and I make compelling cases for low.
I could easily make a buy low case.
You can't, not Eli. Justin says I'm selling. Who are you selling on high? Quarterback.
You know what? I might sell high, and this is gonna sound crazy. I might try to sell high on Blake Bortles right now.
That's interesting.
Is that even possible?
So selling medium, Bobby. Who's your sell high guy?
Case Keenum.
Yeah, take Case sell high right now. At some point, Teddy BridgeWater is going to back. You get Case.
Guys,
Yeah.
hey, our audio is all fucked right now.
About that?
It is on my end. Like the last minute, it's as soon as Sam said, "Hey, who am I selling low on?" It just got all staticky and like I couldn't hear anything that was being said.
Still sounds good for us, I think.
Yeah, I'm sounding pretty good.
I'm sounding okay now, but yeah, that last segment was I couldn't hear a word.
Well, we sell low on Case Keenum.
Okay, I like it. I'm selling high on Bortles just for the fact that the last 3-4 weeks he's had over 25 pass attempts. I think if the Jaguars want to actually get into the playoffs, they're going to realize that they can't let Bortles sell or attempt that many passes, and they're going to realize that, oh shit, he should not throw the ball that many times. Plus his fantasy playoff schedule, see in week 14 is against the Seahawks. If you start Bortles against the Seahawks, you're fucked. You're going to be out in the quarterfinals. Sell him now before it even gets to that point.
Let's move on to running back, Bobby. Who are we going to do buy low here on running back?
Derrick Henry. So Derrick Henry, and actually you said this is only for this season because I wrote my notes before that and thought it was dynasty in general.
My mistake.
So I'll still go with Derrick Henry. I think DeMarco's been dealing with some injuries or things of that nature. He's been getting more involved. For dynasty purposes, what I had noted was that Murray can be cut for absolutely no dead cap next year. And they have a guy waiting in the wings who's just as talented, if not more talented. So it kind of seems like a foregone conclusion that it's Derrick Henry's backfield next season. But for this season, I don't know if I would necessarily recommend that move. If I had to pick one this season, even though Freeman just got a concussion.
Oh, you son of a bitch. You took my guy.
Were you going to say Tevin Coleman or were you going to say Freeman?
Tevin Coleman.
Yeah, I was going to say I would try to buy Tevin Coleman because he's had like 10 points consistently in half PPR like every week, even healthy.
Yep, that's basically what I was going to say for my buy low on Tevin Coleman as well.
Well, fuck you too, Mike.
Well then. The only other guy who I really like is a real buy low guy. As there's two guys, I guess. And, shout out to Ali, who's probably going to try to acquire one of these guys. Matt Forte. He's actually put up pretty good numbers his last 4 weeks that he's played. Obviously, he had the knee injury this week, and so didn't play. But before that, he had 12-10, 10-7, 8.2, and 23.6 fantasy points per game. A lot of guys think Forte is old, which he is, and he's washed up, which he kind of is. But he's getting it done in a timeshare right now, so you could probably have him for peanuts. And he could be a very valuable asset down the stretch.
Yeah, people are very down on the Jets offense. And also, you pulled a nice Mark move there. Shout out to Mark, who will not listen to our pod unless we mention his name at least once. So there it is, Mark. You've been mentioned.
Yeah, his Twitter handle @WaltSanity right there. Guys, my buy low is going to be Isaiah Crowell. Now, I realized 4 weeks ago, I guess it was, with the buy. He had a rough game against Tennessee, only managed about 35 yards, but he had some receptions in a PPR league. So if you're a PPR league, I think it makes a lot of sense to buy low on Isaiah Crowell. He's had 3 triple-digit games in fantasy. I see some he's on the up and up right now. He's got Jacksonville, Cincinnati, another game against Pittsburgh, very last game of the year. You imagine they're going to rest their starters against the Browns there. Who are we selling high?
Well, it pains me to say this because I've gotten in many debates with Zach at Lopsided Trades, for those of you who don't know about this guy, I usually defend him, but starting to somewhat jump ship at least a little bit. Melvin Gordon is my sell high. And the reason is that he's so propped up by touchdowns. And I know the same thing could have been said last season, but he's just so touchdown heavy. I'm not really concerned about Austin Eckler. I actually have a Chasing the Targets coming out this week where Austin Eckler is one of the players. Again, you can see that on dynastyleaguefootball.com when it comes out. But Melvin Gordon is starting to concern me to the point where I think the Chargers may draft another running back because he's just been so up and down and inefficient. And he has good fantasy weeks because he scores touchdowns either in he rushes for one or scores one receiving, or maybe he has two. But I just can't see how that continues for his entire career. And so because his value is likely at its peak right now, and I don't believe in running backs getting you more than a year or two anyway, maybe 3 if you're lucky, or if you get Adrian Peterson, it's time to sell on Melvin Gordon, in my opinion.
Mike, drop some knowledge bombs on high on.
I'm selling high on Chris Thompson if I owned him. Plain and simple, the guy's just not good. I realized Rob Kelly just went down with an ankle injury, knee injury, some kind of injury. But Chris Thompson, the guy, nothing about him stands out. He was a 5th-round draft pick. He's 27. You just don't all of a sudden become a fucking world beater at the age of 27. His 2 good games came early in the year against the Rams and the Raiders when Washington still thought that they had something. He did shit all against the Seahawks. He did shit all against the Vikings. That's going to continue next week against the Saints. He plays the Broncos in Week 16. I'm not starting him in Week 16 on a championship squad. Yeah, get rid of Chris Thompson now while people still think with the Kelly injury, Chris Thompson's going to be the guy. No, Kirky Cousins is just going to fucking air it out to Josh Doxson and company all game. Chris Thompson's going to be a bum the rest of the year.
My guy is going to be somebody who's super funny. Bobby's laughing because he sees me pulling up on the computer right now. Kareem Hunt. Sell high on that, jabroni. You know why? Because the price is going to be astronomical to get him, so you find out what you need. I don't really care about all the haters are going to hate on me saying, oh, so he's the number 2, number 1 guy. I don't give a shit. Fuck Kareem Hunt. Fuck Andy Reid. Fuck all y'all out there if you doubt me. I feel like Eminem right now. Okay, the snaps are going down. Andy, he's going to be hit with the entire rookie wall. This guy's not going to be made for the entire season. Sell high, Kareem Hunt. Next up, wide receiver, buy low. Mike Jarvis, drop us.
Oh shit! I wasn't ready for that. I was too busy putting my Eminem hoodie on. Buy low. Okay, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go to Atlanta. I'm gonna go with Julio Jones. If that's such a thing as a buy low. Julio's gotten no love this year from redraft or dynasty communities. People look at him like, oh, he's only averaging 11.3 points per game. He has 1 touchdown. Boo fucking who. He dropped a peach in the end zone last week. That would have been a 45-yard bomb. So that would have been 11 more points on his roster from last week. They didn't really need to air it out all that many times this past week against Dallas because Prescott was just getting sacked and laying on his back all game. Julio Jones, the Falcons realize that they're in a dogfight to win the South or a wild card. When it comes down to it, you're going to want the ball in your best player's hands. Julio Jones is the best player on the Falcons, bar none. So I think right now you could probably have him for, depends on how desperate the owner is and if he's contending or not. If the Julio owner is not contending, you could probably get him for about 70 cents on the dollar as to what it would cost back in the this past offseason or next offseason.
And also, surprise, surprise, Mike is trying to sell Julio Jones, so he's hyping him up, trying to get the best value he can for him.
We can read right through that shit, Mike.
So my guy, I had a Twitter thread about earlier today. It's Robbie Anderson.
Oh, surprise, surprise. Bobby's trying to sell Robbie Anderson. Now he's going to try to hype
I'm actually not selling him anymore. I told you I'm holding him.
I like Robbie Anderson.
So barring tonight's results, Robbie Anderson could finish this week as the current WR13 in .5 PPR leagues. And if you go back even to last season, it was a 3 or 4 week stretch where he didn't finish lower than the WR17, and he even finished as high as the WR9. And I know a lot of that, as has been pointed out to me, is propped up by touchdown value, and I just shit on Melvin Gordon for that. But Robbie Anderson is a young guy. He's only going to be 25 next season, I believe. And he's the perfect dynasty buy because people still seem to think that you can get him for a third-round pick, which means if that's the owner in your league, you're going to get a great deal on him. And people are selling him low because he was arrested in the offseason. He's on the Jets. People didn't think that McCown would play this well, but he's also undrafted, so it's similar to how Adam Thielen continues to be undervalued, even though he's just balling out. People go, oh, this guy was undrafted during the draft. Oh, he sucks. But after a certain point, draft capital doesn't fucking matter.
All right, my buy low guy, surprise, surprise, is not anyone that's on my team. Actually, yes, it is. It's Kenny Stills. I like Kenny Stills. I think he's granted he's kind of had a little bit of a rough year in terms of catch percentage, but
he always has a rough year.
I realize Jake Cutler's not really a good quarterback. I do like the targets. We got New England twice here in the next few weeks. I think New England's defense is still suspect, even though they had a pretty good outing. That was Brock Osweiler, though, by the way.
Three of us could shut down the Broncos offense.
I'm sorry?
The three of us could have shut down the Broncos
offense. Yeah. I mean, Brock Osweiler, come on. And then your boy C.J. Anderson, who I like to give up to you earlier this year. And then they also got Tampa Bay next week. So Kenny Stills, I think, is somebody you can underrated get. If you guys missed that, he was flipping me off. You could get for a low price. What are we doing? Sell high wide receiver.
Fuck it. I'll go. Robert Woods. There is no chance Mr. Brony is going to continue anywhere near the pace he's going. He's got 2 touchdowns his last 2 games to prop up his stats. Before that, he had more than 10 fantasy points once all year against the lowly Niners on that fucking debacle of a game that was a Thursday night. And yeah, like I said, so this ties directly in with Goff. Goff's schedule or the entire Rams schedule for passing sucks coming up. The receivers are going to get shut down as well. Sell Robert Woods for whatever you can right now. If there's an owner out there willing to pay you a second-round pick, take it and run.
I got to agree with you, Mikey, on that one. I think Robert Woods is my guy, too. Bobby, anybody else other than Robert Woods? We're obviously shitting on Robert Woods.
Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams is someone that I've done kind of a roller coaster on. During his rookie season, I was very down on him. I sold him very cheaply because he kept dropping everything kind of like Amari Cooper is now. And then he came back and he had, I think it was like 12 touchdowns the following season. I went, okay, this is a young, good guy paired up with Rodgers. I was obviously wrong. But this season, he's been very inconsistent, kind of like Melvin Gordon, where he's had some blow-up games and some games less than 10 points. And he's very touchdown heavy. And yeah, he is also playing with Brett Hundley right now, but he's a free agent next season. And the uncertainty of that, paired with the fact that for the rest of the season, he's playing with a guy who's not Aaron Rodgers, means that if someone's going to give me, top 20 wide receiver value, because they're like, oh, this is a young stud wide receiver with Aaron Rodgers, I'd be looking to cash out.
And let's move on to tight end. Buying low on tight end.
Does it matter?
Yeah. I guess not. Can we even do this category?
If you're watching us, you can see I have this chicken scratch here. I didn't write anything down for tight end because if you don't have Travis Kelce, Rob Gronkowski, Zach Ertz, or Evan Ingram, you're just wrong and you're going to lose your league.
I mean, that's not really.
That's not true.
The rest of the guys are all exactly the same guy. They'll get you like 5 to 6 points a game. Maybe if the rest of your team's really good, fine. But tight end doesn't matter outside of those guys.
True. I'll tell you what I'm intrigued with, though, is Vance McDonald. Now, granted, okay, Steelers. But if you look at his numbers over the last 2 weeks, now that he's healthy, kind of got in the system, he's been targeted a few times more than Jesse James has.
The road dog, Jesse James.
What?
I just had to.
I don't know.
What'd you say?
I said the road dog, Jesse James.
Yeah, all right. But Vance is he's put up a couple strings of a couple of games with some targets there, some catches. He had a touchdown there. I know the numbers aren't staggering, but he's owned in like 2% of leagues, I'm guessing. So you can probably get him for cheap as a nice plug-in.
Yet another guy who could get you 6 points, just like every other fucking tight end.
The one guy I'll say is he just came back off his injury is CJ Fedorkowicz, or however the hell you pronounce it, from Houston.
Sure, I think it's right because we don't know how to pronounce last names here.
I think he'll get you.
Fedorkowicz is right. I'm pretty sure.
The guy, he's been injured all year, but he had a pretty good year last year. Deshaun Watson had the terrible injury. Fucking Tom Savage sucks. Anybody else Houston throws out there sucks. They're going to be looking for check down routes, 6-7 yards from the line of scrimmage. Throw it to your big tight end. I like Charles Clay a lot coming back off of the injury as well. Him and Taylor had a nice rapport going earlier on in the year. Those would be two guys I'd be looking to get.
Yeah, Charles Clay is a good buy, though. I'll admit that.
I like Charles Clay. Guys, we're running out of time, so we're going to have to move on to the Afterburns of the week. I don't know if it's everyone's favorite topic that we talk about every week, but you know what? It's my favorite topic, and we're going to force it down people's throats if we have to like the Afterburns of the week. Who's got a good burn this week?
I had a good one last week. I'm not sure I have a good one for this week. Mike, do you have anything?
I don't have a super, super good one this week. I'll go with the fucking Jacksonville Jaguars and only using Leonard Fournette for what? Like 16, 17 snaps yesterday. Who the guy hadn't basically touched a football in 4 weeks. Most of that came in the last drive of the game as well. Or if that game go into overtime, I don't fucking know because I don't watch the Jaguars. But basically, he was held to under 30 yards up until the very end of the game in that cakewalk of a matchup. Don't let fucking Blake Bortles throw the ball. You have one of the best running backs in the league. Hand him the rock and let him do what he does. Destroy defenses. Jacksonville Jaguars, fuck you. Give Fournette the ball.
Strong burn. Bobby, you got one?
Not yet.
Can I go?
Yeah, go for it.
I got a great afterburn. It's actually somebody on this podcast. It's going to be me. Because
Wow.
I couldn't pronounce shit beginning of this show. I was bumbling around like an idiot. I was getting the podcast handle name incorrectly. I was sitting here talking about God knows what, chlorophyll or borophyll, whatever. Not really sure what it was, but I did a terrible job.
No, I will not make it with you.
No, I will not make out with you. So I do apologize, but I definitely get the burn of the week on myself for screwing up immensely in the first 10 minutes, but I think I've rebounded nicely.
Yeah, you recovered well.
We'll see. I'm going to go – this is such a lame one, but it's really been frustrating me lately. I'm going to go with people who walk slowly in New York City.
Oh, my God, that's the worst.
Those are the fucking worst of the worst.
And it's not even specifically people who walk slowly, but people who walk in groups on the sidewalk, but they don't walk one behind the other. It's like a giant group, so you can't get around them. When I'm walking, I'm usually walking pretty fast with a purpose. And additionally, a lot of times I'm walking with a dog connected to me by a leash. So getting around those groups is a pain in the butt. Just if you're going to be in New York City, learn to walk the walk. Walk the walk, talk the talk. I know everybody thinks we're rude, but you're actually rude by coming here and not fitting into our culture.
And for God's sake, don't stop in the middle of the street or sidewalk to take a picture and looking up at the fucking building. Don't do that. And Bobby, you're right. Don't walk slow like a group of four like this. Go 2 by 2.
Yeah, basically I'm saying
I'm 2 by 2. Give us room to walk around.
Local New Yorkers do it too, but basically what I'm saying is it's holiday season. Tourists are starting to flood into the city. We don't want you here. Leave. That's to you specifically too, Mike. We don't want your kind here. Keep your Canadians out.
Well,
with that, we're going to have to wrap up another fine episode.
I'm just kidding. We love all Canadians.
Guys, we're out of time. This was fun today. Mike, we got our parting shots to let go. Bobby, you got to let us out too, and then I'm going to say goodnight.
Yeah, I got nothing really. I'm scared to ever go to New York City again. I'm scared that Bobby might rage stab me, and I was going to come for a visit, but I think I'll just stay here in Canada now. You guys can find me on Twitter at Mike Jarvis.
No, really, come visit New York City. It's great. You can see the tree. Go to Times Square. I don't go to any of the touristy areas. So if you're a tourist, you can come to the city. You won't see me. I won't be mean to you. I won't go, oh, you're walking too slow, because you'll be in a touristy area where everyone's walking too slow. Actually, you know what? I'm going to pitch an idea to the city of New York here. Walking lane for local New Yorkers, and then a walking lane for tourists. However, if the tourists cross into the local New Yorker lane, the local New Yorkers reserve the right to heckle the crap out of them. So I don't know.
I like that. I like that.
You heard it here first on the Afterburners pod, if it's ever implemented.
At Rekt Fantasy, that's REKED. He is writing also at dynastyleaguefootball.com. Good friend of the podcast, Zach. It's at blogspot.com. You can find me at The Needy One. This is at Afterburners Pod. We're at afterburnerspodcast.podbean.com. And I got some great news. I'll be dropping a new website tomorrow. It's called theneedyone.wordpress.com. Mike's going to be a contributor every now and then. Bobby's got a sweet flow chart he's going to pump out there. Guys, it's going to be a little bit of fantasy sports, some other DC sports, and a lot of random shit like Bumble and Tinder dating in New York. So I'll unleash that on the crowd, on the world tomorrow. The rest of us, have a great week. Enjoy your week of fantasy. Losing is, I'm sure, if you're like me, you're losing to everyone. And like Bobby said, if you're a tourist, please come visit New York. We love you. Okay.
Deuces.